Hello, hello, hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, let me get more situated. Do you
What
like where
does
I'm at?
what does this button do? Oh, it doesn't do anything.
That's the DJ air horn. Fwah, fwah, fwah.
So, uh,
So I don't know what to expect
um,
here. Okay,
um, all right, you ready?
let's do it.
You ready? All right.
Well, I hope this is the same story you're remembering. But in my head, the first time we met, I was a manager at Buffalo Wild Wings in Moorhead, Minnesota, and Mitch, my partner, was coming over, and he let me know that he was bringing his new work friend Scottie to Moorhead. I was working that night. You guys showed up. I came over, said hi to Mitch, hung out for a bit, got to introduce myself to you. And one of the first things you asked me to do was put on a soccer game, which knowing you now makes me giggle every time I think of that. But I had no clue who you were. So I went on. I was like, all right, Mitch's friend Scottie, sure. And I put on soccer game.
It wasn't just any soccer game. It was Atlanta United in some sort of like big championship game. And I was a big Atlanta United fan at the time. Still am now, but
Hey, I don't want to yuck your yum, you know?
hey, ATL UTD. Uh, you put it on like the big screen.
Oh yeah. I mean, there
Yeah.
wasn't anything going on at the time. As soon as March Madness is over, like soccer kind of takes over for a bit. So it was all yours, but
I do remember at some point Mitch had like left to go home or whatever, and it was just me there. And you came over at one point and you were like, "How how much longer is the game?" Because I think people were starting to ask. Like, I guess there's some other thing happened. I don't know, but
what, you guys aren't here for the Atlanta game?
exactly. And it was like going into overtime, and I was like, "Oh, I'm the only person here watching this giant TV."
They do have a big screen that you were watching on. So yeah, my first memory of you is being a sports fan.
Yeah,
Woo!
and it tracks now.
Yeah, no,
I'm
yeah.
biggest
Same
sports
here.
fan. Yeah, I had you met any of Mitch's other coworkers?
Um, Oddly enough, I had met one other woman that he worked with from that. I can't believe I'm forgetting the name of that place because you guys won't shut up about it. Corelink,
It's the
yeah.
best job I ever had.
Okay. Well, I had met someone else from Corelink, and she had come to B-Dubs, so not with Mitch, but with her family. And it's not uncommon for random adults to stop me when I worked at that store and be like, "Oh, you're Mitch's partner." I was like, "Who? Yeah, who are you?" So that was just one of the many times some random lady like kind of grabbed my sleeve when I was walking by some booths, and she's like, "Oh, like Mitch told me you were working tonight. I'm so and so." I can't remember her name.
Mm.
She was great.
Wow, great impression she made. Yeah, you made a great impression on me. I felt special that I got the game on the TV. I was wearing my like Atlanta United scarf and everything. I think you gave me a free birthday beer. It wasn't my birthday.
Shut up! You're gonna get me in trouble.
Yeah, it was fun. I'm trying to remember when I like would have seen you after that, like socially or
Well, shortly after that, I believe timing wise, I would have gotten Oscar, and I remember coming to
yes.
Corelink a couple times. My dog Oscar, to show off the puppy, and then I was bringing Mitch's dog Billy, who's very much my dog now. Billy cannot leave me
I
alone.
love Billy.
But I remember going to Corelink with those two dogs, and then you guys would come out into the waiting room of, was it the big building right next to
Yeah,
the
the at the
Fargo
time I think it
grinder?
was called was it called the Multiband Tower then?
I think so.
Now it's the Proficient Tower. Oh wait, maybe well it went from Multiband when I first started working there. Then this is really interesting to everyone listening. Multiband to the what was the next Sundog, and then it was the Sundog Tower, and then Proficient bought Sundog, became the Proficient Tower.
Interesting.
Yeah,
I've never
very
heard of
interesting.
Sundog or anything. So I was like, huh.
Yeah, I do remember you bringing them up there. Oscar was so tiny.
Yeah.
Did you find him?
Yes. So there was that year, I think it was 20. 2017, 2018, somewhere in there.
Had it been 2018, because that's when I moved here, September 2018.
Okay, yeah. So then it would have been January 2019 when I found him. It was the coldest day of the year, freezing, 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 huge blizzard. And I opened the store the next morning after the blizzard was over. So I get to work, did my stuff, and I had to run to the bank, deposit all the money from the night before. So I had my bank bag ready. I was going to go snag some coffee on my way back. And as I'm walking out the back door, I hear whimpering. So I turn around, and inside of our huge fenced in dumpster area, kind of the area where the cooks will all hang out in a corner and smoke cigarettes on their breaks, there was extra loud whimpering. So I look, and some not great person had found Oscar as a puppy, tied twine around his neck, and then tied him to our dumpster and left him for the night. So this poor puppy had like burrowed itself into a huge pile of snow,
Ugh.
peed everywhere. So I kind of like reached my hands into this like piss opening, and this dog was soaking wet in its own urine, just shivering. I'm surprised he didn't die. We brought him inside, and then the cooks cooked up some chicken breasts. We gave him a huge bowl of water. He drank the whole thing and then peed everywhere in our office. And then Mitch came to see him because holy crap, he was a cute puppy. And then when that was over, I was like, well, we should probably go get him checked out for shots and everything. He also smelled terrible. And then the vet at the end of that appointment, which my dumb brain hadn't connected, just walked up to me, excuse me, yuck, just walked up to
Morning.
me and said like, all right, are you keeping this dog or not? So didn't expect to get a puppy, but I got one out of the deal. So we named him Oscar, obviously Oscar the Grouch. And he's been great. I've never had a blue heeler, but he's a lot of work. Very smart dog. He can be a stubborn asshole sometimes, but I love him. So
I hate that somebody tied him up to that dumpster, but I also love that. I hope to think that they were at their wits' end, didn't know what to do, and just knew that someone there would find him. I don't know. It kind of feels a little bit like,
well, what I think happened, and it makes the story so much sadder, is right next to that location is one of the bigger homeless shelters in the area, and they don't allow pets. So I would assume someone over there got him because you could kind of almost see tracks through the blizzard the night before, like heading in that direction. And yeah, that'd be a really hard decision of like, do I want to be warm tonight, or do I want to risk it with this new puppy?
yeah.
I guess I don't know what I would have done in that if I was in those shoes.
So
But,
I'm getting emotional.
but I'm glad I found him. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's been great ever since.
How quickly did Billy kind of like take him under his paw?
Oh God, no. So we have a pit bull boxer mix Billy. He's one of the crabbier dogs I've ever hung out with. Once he gets to know you, he's great, but he does not like a big circle. He just wants his small circles. So we brought in Oscar, this loud, very energetic puppy. Billy tried killing him immediately. I've never heard a puppy make that whimpering, terrified scream noise when Billy had him in his jaws, like as I'm trying to shove my hand in a pit bull's mouth to get the puppy out of his mouth. But now they're inseparable.
I was gonna say Billy like is pretty protective of him.
Oh yeah. Billy, if you play too rough with Oscar, he'll pipe up from a corner and he'll bark at you and then everyone has to kind of calm down. Sometimes you have to put your hands in the air so Billy knows you're not like holding something, and then
I,
he'll go back to his nap. But
I wear it as like a badge of honor that Billy has accepted me as a person that he likes, because I feel like there's only a few of us out there.
yes, you and Rachel specifically, I think you could rob our house and Billy would watch you do it.
Yeah, he'd probably help.
Yep.
Oh, you forgot about this over here. Yeah.
And I've noticed specifically with you, like pretty much everybody he'll bark at, his hair will go up until you get close enough to smell him, and then he recognizes, but I think he recognizes your face because even when he just sees you, his hair goes back down. So he does really like you.
Oh, thanks, Billy.
Woo!
Okay, so yeah, so you would you brought Oscar to Core Link. I'm trying to remember like when more like socially though. I feel like it had to have been probably because I don't think we were friends enough for like your birthday that like first year for me to probably hang out or anything. I don't know.
That's probably a good
I
assumption.
think it was probably like kind of Core Link related things. Like I vaguely remember you getting a new car, maybe the Jeep you have now.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's the only car I've
And-
ever bought.
And you brought it by to like show Mitch or I don't know, something like that maybe, or something. There's definitely, it's probably the summer though. The lake is probably when we first started like really hanging out.
Yes. I remember when it was winter and spring, I was coming to Core Link's lobby periodically, just because when I was a restaurant manager, I would have those weird hours where like my day wouldn't start until 4 p.m. So I would swing over, like bring the dogs, whatever. Corelink seemed to be very easygoing for you guys with scheduling, so you guys could
Hey,
all
it
like
was a hard job.
yeah.
We had a lot. We had a lot going on at this closing company.
It was great. So you guys would all come out and then hang out for a bit. I think I got to know, like, we had a good rapport.
Report.
Yeah, why did
Report.
I want to say rapport going on from that. And then that same year, maybe the year prior, we had bought our starter boat, which was that old 2000
Oh,
Mastercraft.
yeah.
That thing was just beat up,
What
but
happened to that boat? Did you trade it in or what?
we traded it, I'm sure, for nothing. But it was a great boat. It was some grandpa who had bought it for his grandkids, and then his grandkids just decided, I don't want to go to the lake. So he had this wakeboarding boat he wasn't using, but also it was just sitting there. So it needed some TLC big time, but it taught Mitch and I how to work together, running the boat, what that entailed, taking care of it. Man, the payment for that boat was dirt cheap. I think Mitch and I were both paying like 110, 150
Wow.
something in there a month just to be lake bros all
Wow, I
weekend
should get
long
a
at
boat.
lakes. I mean, yeah, it's the storage is the biggest pain in the butt with those things. We got really lucky. We didn't really piece it together when we bought it. I think we were just kind of like on a high from like, yes, we got something cool. And we took it to Big Cormorant, had a blast. We had been parking it in our neighborhood, and then rain was coming, and we're like, this thing is so old it doesn't have a cover. I mean, it had like some kind of ghetto trashy one that was just all like hooked together. That some guy had just, I think, like a generic one on the internet. I don't know, but we got lucky in the Fargo storage place right by 29, kind of by Acapulco, that area. They had one slot left that Mitch is very good at backing up trailers, and it kind of slowly slid in there. But I had to get out, and there was sometimes there must have been like inches between us and the other trailer that was in that spot. So I don't know how Mitch did that. I will give him mad props. But we did that, and then we would just drive it to whatever lake every Saturday, Sunday. It was like an addiction that first summer, and we would just send out texts to people like, hey, we're meeting at this lake. If you want to come on the boat, just be at the landing, whatever.
That was
Um,
my intro to like lake life, really.
oh,
I
really?
didn't have a dog then, so I didn't have to be responsible for anything else. And I would just, yeah, random Saturdays just drive out
Yep.
there or ride with you guys. And yeah, that was my first like
We used to do that
real
a
true
lot
time.
too.
Yeah.
I
We would,
do remember we would either have to nominate someone or we as a group would all go together, but it was always this like, how long can we leave Oscar alone without him
oh
peeing in
yeah.
our house / being cruel to an animal? So we were always trying to push it. I remember there was one time one of Mish's other friends, we dropped her off at the landing for the sole reason that she's going to get in the car and just beat us home by an hour to let him out. But it was a great summer. You were with us a lot that first summer.
Yeah. And we did, I think we were at Cormorant most of the time. Every once in a while we took the boat to Ottertail, I think. Is Ottertail the one?
I'm trying
is
to remember.
is
Big
that
Cormorant was like our main spot because that lake is so huge, and
yeah.
they have not a Zorba's, that other bar,
Is it Hooligans?
Hooligans. Yeah, Hooligans on the lake. Which that place was. It's a vibe, but it's very hit or miss if the staff are sharing the mindset of the vibe.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
I liked it better when we would go there. I did not care for their breakfast when we would like start there.
Mm,
I preferred more of the like, oh, let's grab like some pizza or something.
yeah. Breakfast, I liked the idea of being there at 8 in the morning and then everyone is having a coffee in their rooftop overlooking the lake as people kind of slowly started getting there, and then we'd all pile on the boat. But you could tell the staff, and I mean, I grew up in restaurants. I know what it's like. All of the staff probably just woke up at 7:55 and the doors open at 8, and you can tell they're like, "Ah, don't even look at me right now." And you're like, you're fine. Like,
And we're all in like weekend vacation mode. Like,
yeah.
"Brr,
And
brr,
they're probably like,
brr."
you sons of bitches. But that place was my first time with really bad zebra mussels.
What is that? Oh, are those the like really sharp things?
Yes. Mussels, I mean, your best way is little clams. But zebra mussels are super invasive in Minnesota and North Dakota, and they are razor sharp. And I
Is that
did
what they check for whenever you like leave the boat? There's like the person inspecting to
Mhm.
make sure. Are they just checking that you're not taking?
Invasive species, yeah, just like
Okay.
which ones, because those will suck on your boat. So they'll do the check, make sure, and they'll spray it with that hot water mixed with some soap. complimentary service the DNR will do on like the really
Fancy.
bad lakes because they just want those mussels out of there. But I did a deep dive one day of like, why do these exist in Minnesota? I mean, invasive species in general are just kind of cool to me, but those are, I can't remember what lake it was. They were trying to do some filtering of the water because zebra mussels are amazing filters. And any lake with zebra mussels, it's kind of a double-edged sword because on the one hand, it's super clear. You can see everything. You don't get that mucky, dirty lake water feeling. But on the other hand, you cannot go on that lake barefoot with rocks.
Oh,
And I
yeah.
had never thought like it would be that bad until there was one day we were at Big Cormorant. We were trying to get to the Hooligans dock, and it was so busy that I just had to hold the boat in the water like waist deep while Mitch got out, just swam to shore to get us our lunch. And my dumbass was barefoot on these huge boulders, and I was using them kind of as like a point of buoyancy. So my toes were like wrapped around these rocks.
Ugh.
No clue they're covered in mussels. It must have been like the fact that I was submerged in water. I couldn't feel that I was actively being sliced up. And then when Mitch finally got our food, he swam out. I like turned the boat towards him, got him in it, and then walked us out enough, pushed it, climbed onto the boat, and we had white cushions. And as soon as I put my first foot onto that white cushion, it was just a red horror movie outline of my foot. And then when I kind of looked backwards and curled my foot up and the skin curled with it, I screamed. That hurt so bad. So now, anytime there's zebra mussels, I don't mess around with it. I either just don't go near boulders or I've got those really ugly water socks that I'll wear.
See, this is what's scary about lake life to me. That's
Yeah.
terrifying. Um, I think it was Ottertail that we went to once, which had like some beautiful houses on it, and we went to Zorba's. I think this is just me, you, and Mitch. Maybe Shonda was there. I don't remember. But do you know what I'm about to talk about?
I don't know if it was Ottertail. I think it was Pelican because we would go to Pelican a lot.
Pelican.
Yeah.
Is that where the Zorba's was?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And
Not
then
that matters.
well, it does for the story kind of, because we went to Zorba's one day and we brought our food back onto the boat, and I think Mitch and I both were eating pizza maybe, and you had gotten a quesadilla.
Oh God, I know what you're talking
And
about.
I don't know if it was something in the air or something, but you had to sneeze or something. Do you remember this?
Yeah. So
And then the most traumatic thing I've literally ever seen in my entire life happens.
I have to sneeze a lot anytime I'm looking directly, not looking directly, but even like near sunlight if my eyes haven't adjusted. And I think I had been like under a blanket, like on my phone for a while. And then when like the super bright light hit me, it triggered a sneeze. And I was couple chews into a quesadilla. You're already cry laughing.
Sorry. It was literally a horror movie. It was disgusting in an incredible way. It's the neatest thing I've ever seen. An entire quesadilla came out of your nose, basically.
Oh yeah. No,
Like,
I
whole
probably had
slice
5
just
chomps.
came out.
Huge, like, right before you're ready to swallow the food you just chewed. And this sneeze just sucked it all up through my nasal area and blew it out my nose. And it hurt so, if I could like feel jalapeno chunks in my sinuses.
We didn't know how to help you because I think we were both just kind of like amazed that it was happening.
Well, yeah, just like snotty quesadilla
It was
salsa
wild.
was
I've never
coming out
seen
of me.
that happen before. It was
Yeah, the 3 of you were appalled.
It was wild. It was wild. Did your like sinuses feel great afterwards? Like everything just like, did it clean it all out?
No, there was an appetizer stuck in my nose for like 4 days. What do you mean?
That's funny.
And I would just like farmer blow my snot in the shower when no one's looking, and you're like, whatever, I'm just gonna blow this thing out. And there was still like a chunk of tomato would come out of me. I was like,
I like to see there's just like a strip of tortilla still out there somewhere, tickling your brain.
Saving a snack for later,
That's great. Speaking of appetizers, we that's something we should have in common. We love a good trip to an Applebee's or a Chili's or something.
Ooh, I'm a slut for Chili's.
What's your favorite like suburban restaurant?
Restaurant chain, like that's
Chain,
right.
yeah. And you can't say B-dubs.
Right. Well, honestly, probably Chili's.
Yeah.
I have a lot of memories going there as a kid. There was one up the road. I think my sister ended up being a manager at a Chili's for a while, so maybe that's why we were going there so much when I was little. And then in college, that like everyone else around me was kind of like, yeah, Chili's is amazing. So any chance we get, I feel like the four of us will usually eat at Chili's a lot.
Yeah. I mean, the chips and salsa are hard to beat, and it's just I don't know. It's an affordable, great,
Yeah.
bad for you meal.
And it's currently, I feel like in the pop culture area,
It is having,
it's
like, a
kind of
weird, like,
like
comeback, yeah.
a funny irony thing that like people are into. I'm like, no, this isn't ironic. I just love Chili's.
I mean, I am not ashamed to admit I love Texas Roadhouse, and I'm glad that I have some friends who will go there with me
I don't
because
think
I have
there's any
other
shame.
friends who will not go there, and I need it regularly in my life, so
Yeah. Like butter me up with those buns, you know?
yeah, how many buns do you think you could eat in one sitting?
Oh, it no judgment and no one's watching me. I think I would gross myself out.
Me too. I could every time we go, I have to, like, have some self-control not to eat another one.
Yeah. Yep, and
They're
then I've
so
noticed
good.
there'll be a point in our meals every time we go there where all four of us will kinda just look at each other like, "All right, who's gonna be the fat bastard who eats
Yeah.
another one?" And then I feel like lately it's been me, like, "Oh, don't mind me. Just
Or when they
butter my
come and they ask, "Do
rolls."
we want more rolls?" It's silent for a second because no one wants to be the one to say yes, even though we
Yeah.
all want to say yes.
Mhm.
So I will sign myself up to being the yes guy moving forward.
Our hero.
Talking about growing up, you grew up in near the cities.
Mhm.
Another thing we
Mhm.
have in common is we both grew up in kind of evangelical church school world.
Yeah.
How do you feel like that has like shaped who you are? Let's go deep.
Yeah, I mean, why not? Yeah, it's kind of turned me off pretty hard to religion as a whole. So I grew up going to a evangelical Christian school since preschool all the way up until my senior year. And then on the other side of that, my dad was a deacon at a pretty old school-ish, we'll say, evangelical church. So it was just church, church, and more church a lot in
Were
my
the church and the
house.
school were they like related to each other?
No.
Okay.
My school was connected to a church. It was called Meadow Creek Christian School in the cities. I think we were Saint Bernard. Go Saint Bernard.
Wow, that's a fun mascot. We were the Eagles. Well,
It's
my
generic.
I did the same. I went to Christian school, preschool through 12th grade. But for high school, I went to a different Christian school. It was a lot of drama in my hometown because there's a whole
Oh,
like faction of us that left this one school and went to the other at the same time. But where I went to elementary school, we were the Lions, and then when I went to high school, we were the Eagles, which I feel like every high school is that boring. But
yeah. It's usually those like I don't know 10 animals that we can all think of
right.
on our fingers for a mascot. Um, so it was very big into my youth group growing up. Actually, some of my best friends, childhood wise, were all youth group kids. Which is funny because now when you look at all of us, I actually just kind of crept on all of them on socials like a year ago. I was like, I wonder where everyone is. We're all, from what I can tell, like very removed from religion. Um, Obviously, being closeted wasn't helpful during all of that time either, just because everything around you is telling you that being gay is the worst thing you could possibly do right now. Especially at that time. I don't know why. Like 2006 to 10, that was a pretty big topic. I felt like
I
gay
thought
marriage was obviously getting voted
yeah.
on at the time.
Well, I think we were in the outskirts of like our parents were the age like during like the gay panic of like the 80s and stuff with like AIDS and everything. That definitely
Yeah.
shaped their perspective of that, plus the religious side of it. Like it was like all of that mixed together. Like that was lingering in people's thoughts. And then I think we were entering this like era where it was like, you should love everybody, love your neighbor, gay marriage, like everything, which was like terrifying for people who were trying to like keep a certain legalistic view of the world through their religion. Like that
Right.
definitely like,
Yeah.
you know, affects that. So it was like a kind of a double whammy there for
Yeah.
like people our age.
Yep. I don't know. And our every Wednesday, I think most private schools had this. We had chapel day, so then
Mm.
all your classes were cut short, I think by like 12 minutes, and then you spread that across the day, and then that gives you, whatever hour-ish to
Yeah.
do like worship and then a sermon, and then we would either bring in people or it would just be our chapel guy who would do it. And then that we would walk from the school. There was a long hallway that connected the school to the Meadow Creek Church building, so we would all just go over there, have church, and then we'd go back to our classes, which was kind of funny. My mom was also a teacher there. So growing up my entire life at the school, I was also labeled like a staff kid.
Mm.
Um, which there was definitely a little bit of perks of being a staff kid. I could go into the teacher's lounge and just like raid my mom's food. Once, especially like going there from preschool all the way until you're 18, like all of these teachers know you inside and out completely. My graduating class, I think there was 30 of us, so it was everybody knows everybody. Or no, there were 60 of us. Everybody knows everybody's dirt. The grades below you know it, the grades above you know it. Like there are no secrets in this small knit school. Private schools aren't cheap. I got to go there for free because I was a staff kid, but everyone around me was pretty wealthy, or their parents at least were like grinding hard to get their kids through this school. So it was an interesting dynamic. I would watch kids get dropped off in very nice Suburbans, Escalades, that kind of stuff. I want to say, and maybe this is my memory just messing with me, that there was some like political kids whose parents were kind of well connected into that stratosphere too. So there was just a lot of hands going in and out of this school. It was a pretty tough environment knowing that I was closeted. So I just kind of buried that so far deep and then pretended I was just super not gay.
How did you like what did you do to like I think back to myself, I think I knew that about myself, but I think I did the same. I think I suppressed it so much
Yeah.
that I just filled my time with like all these other things, or just kind of like I don't know. I was like almost like super Christian and like really charismatic to like I loved like youth group. I loved volunteering for things. I did all that kind of stuff because I almost felt like I had to like prove this other side of myself to like if that was the thing people thought of, they would never like know this other thing like about me.
Yeah, that's actually a really good way to put it. I was hyper involved at school. I was in all the clubs, all the extracurriculars. Um, Loved sports, oddly enough, but like also because our private school is so small, we couldn't do bigger sports. So like
And
football was out of the question. They're
was
just
basketball your big sport? That was our big
soccer
sport.
was
Oh wow, see we didn't even have
oddly.
that. We didn't have enough people for that.
Oh yeah, we had like the cheap sports, like one single ball and two nets. That's pretty cheap for
Yeah.
everybody. But the big thing our school got my senior year was a hockey team.
Wow.
We had teamed up with 4 other smaller private schools in the area, as well as I don't even know how they did this. They had kind of covertly gone around to the public schools and stolen all of the, we're going to just call them the bad kids, whose parents were like, wait, I can get a discount. My kid will stop getting detention and they get to be the starter on your shitty hockey team. Sign them up. So we rented space at, if you're from the cities, it's called the Schwann's like super rink. There's an obnoxious amount of hockey rinks in this place and they're all interconnected. And then they used to hold like the Midwest World Cup for soccer in this area too. So there's probably like 50 soccer fields around this giant, huge stadium thing. So we would drive there. And then I remember going to watch our school get their absolute ass handed to them in hockey a couple times. And then some of these kids from public schools would start fistfights, which I thought was hilarious of like, oh, read the room, man. Like this isn't going to fly in a private school hockey league. So I remember they were usually always in trouble because our athletic director was wildly embarrassed that we were the school going out there and punching kids in the face. But some of the public school kids that came to our school, they loved it because it was a little more less teachers always expecting the worst out of them, I think,
Yeah.
versus at private school, I think they're all expecting like your parents will destroy you if you're bad. So you're all going to be well-behaved kids. And
Plus it was
kind
like
of
the ministry side of it too, of like, oh, we're ministering to these like
right.
forgotten
Mhm.
children of the world, and so
Right,
you
right.
know who are headed down the wrong path. We've got to like save them. You
Yep.
know.
There was one of them I remember. I had a crush on a girl I played saxophone next to. What's up, Lauren Sutherland? And one of the public school kids came in, and in my dumb head, I'm like lying to myself that I am not closeted, and B, I really thought I had a chance. Like I'd been working up, freshman, sophomore, junior year, buttering Lauren up to finally get her to date me, and then in comes public school kid who's really good at hockey, and is like a little bit of a bad boy, and I was just disturbed that this wasn't going my way. And I actually ran into her and her husband when Mitch and I were in Vegas like a couple of years ago, which was super just small world. We were
Yeah.
walking down the strip. Lauren's a very tall person, so you can spot her right away. And then I just yelled out her, "Is like Sutherland," and turns around, and I was like, "Oh, this is my partner, Mitch." And her eyes got really wide, and I was like, "Yeah, it's what it is, pal."
Do you find it as like a little bit of a badge of honor when people like are surprised, like now that you're out, like whenever they find out? Because sometimes I feel in my mind, I'm like, well, I don't know, it doesn't seem like it should be that big of a shock to people. But then I have people that are like, oh, I had no idea.
Yeah, but then there's always that like part of me that I feel like I should feel guilty that
Yeah,
that's a compliment,
yeah,
but I don't really know why I feel that way, and I've never really like taken the time to like kind of self-discover that little
yeah,
journey hole of what that looks like. Ew, journey hole. Sorry. Yuck.
yeah.
We don't need
Wow. Okay, now it's getting too gay.
it.
Yeah, I'm sure that there probably is some sort of like sociological or psychological thing, but I feel like that's a pretty shared like experience
hmm
with the gays of just this idea of, I think it's because we're always we want to be ourselves, but we want to be accepted too. And there's a weird sense of like, well, the hierarchy of things accepted in culture are this. And if someone thinks I'm that, then like, oh, I must be like doing a good job if I like,
That's fair.
me being
Yeah.
gay is not the most interesting thing about me,
hmm I
But
I tell myself I think the reason I do feel like a little bit of like, ha ha, when someone says I had no clue is because I spent all the way until I didn't come out until I was 25, 26. So I spent all of that time hiding it. And that whenever I guess I like successfully did it and someone was surprised, then it's like, oh, you were doing great, Jake. Like it was
yeah.
so messed up to think that way. But I think that always still kind of like pops in my head every once in a while.
What was it like talking about like your coming out story? What did it feel? I guess people who grew up similarly to us, you have not just the society part of it, you have the religious part of it too, of just all this pressure to be a certain person or a certain way. And then when you finally get to like be yourself, there is like a sense of freedom there, but I feel like it's also kind of alienating almost because it's like, who everything I like knew about who I was supposed to be is now like,
Oh
I
yeah.
don't have like a North Star to be like working towards anymore, or like these like expectations on me anymore. You kind of feel like lost all of a sudden because it's like,
Yeah.
well, I don't know what I'm supposed to be anymore.
The way I like to think of it is, that trick we all wish we could do where it's like a full table set and it's got the tablecloth and then someone will like rip the
Oh yeah.
tablecloth off and all the dishes will stay there. I I don't even want to try to do that because that sounds like a lot of work to pick up broken dishes.
I'm glad you said that because I have a tablecloth in my
Yeah, hard pass. But I feel like that's a good way of how I look at it. Of when you come out, you rip off that tablecloth and you just kind of pick up the pieces of the fallen dishes, and then you kind of figure out what does your table look like
Oh, I
after
like that.
the
Like which
tablecloth has been
dishes
ripped
stay,
off.
which
Yeah.
ones, yeah.
So I had to get personally in a really really dark headspace to come out because in my head, I mean, my parents grew up in this religious life. Like, that's what they wanted for me. That's what they believed. My mom worked at that school. My dad was a deacon. I had to get in the headspace of I'm going to lose my family when I come out because this has been such a big deal that was preached to me my entire life. And what I'm about to do is going against everything my family has stood for. Like I can remember very vividly comments that both parents had said to me about gays and gay marriage before I came out. And, in their head, they're teaching you what they think is right. But then when you're on the other end of it, that's all you can think of is those comments. And you're like, ugh. So I kind of had to swallow those comments deep down and get to the point where I was okay not having parents. And then I could come out. So I had to basically intentionally isolate myself from my family for a couple months leading up to it. And I probably did this way more complicated than it needed to be, but that's just what I had to do in my headspace at the time.
Well, there's
Um,
no like there's no like book about how to do it or anything. There's no right
right.
way to do it. So
Yeah. So once I was mentally okay of like kind of feeling that loneliness of what it would be like and not losing that support system, then I came out. And I just kind of slowly worked my way through my siblings because I have three of them. And then once they all knew, then I told my parents and I had them come to Fargo and they met Mitch that night. I think we went to Bulldog in Moorhead. Very uncomfortable for everybody. But at the time, I didn't tell them what relationship I had with Mitch. I just presented him like, hey, this is one of my really good friends, Mitch. He's going to join us for dinner. They had no clue. And then right before they drove back to the
Do you think
cities,
they really had no clue, or do you think they were like,
I asked them, and they told me they didn't.
"Hmm,
Because at that point they still didn't know. Like my life was kind of spiraling a little bit because they didn't know the decisions I was making were leading up to this point. And then I told them, it's like, hey, what would you guys say if Mitch wasn't just a friend? And both of them, I was like ready for some pretty evil things to be said based on everything I had grown up with. And they both surprised me and didn't react that way. They needed space, which I knew. So they both said, in the moment, kind things. But I could tell they weren't really ready to talk about it. I had just kind of ripped out their own tablecloth a little bit. And then I just said, okay, well, I'm going to let you guys leave, hit the road, text me when you get back to the cities, and take as much time as you want. When you guys are ready to talk about it, call me. So I think it took them about a week, and then my mom reached out. She had me meet her at Arrowwood Resort in Alexandria, if you've ever been there. It's an older resort, but it's really cool. It's huge on this big lake in Alec. Big, enormous resort. And so my mom got one of the older rooms and one of the older wings. And then I remember I stopped at a liquor store and got a 12-pack of White Claws because I was like, I don't know what this night's going to turn into. And then her and I just sat in this hotel room for the night, and she just lobbed every question she could think of at me. It was a long night. There was a lot of crying on like both sides. But I think that was good. It kind of helped us kind of reset where our relationship was at that point. And then she went back, talked to my dad about everything, and then my dad and I had like a dinner a couple months later where he kind of asked me a few questions. But fast forward now, and everything's great. I'm so glad I did.
yeah,
I mean, anyone will tell you that. And now it's to the point where my dad really, really loves Mitch. I know my mom does too, but anytime we're at his Hugo house, like Mitch will just walk around freely, does kind of whatever he would do at home. There's been times like I'll go upstairs, shower, get ready for the day, I'll come back down, and before they see me, they're just sitting at the table having coffee and talking together. So definitely doesn't feel like I'm the outlier in my family.
mhm,
Um, and everything's kind of how it should be now.
yeah." And that's, I mean, like, that's how it should be for everybody all the time. But yeah, it sucks that we have to kind of go through that like roller coaster of a journey
Yeah,
to get
yeah.
there. How going back to like the religion part of it, I know we like briefly like talked about that, but what do you think? I think about my own like relationship to my faith and religion and everything, and I don't think it's just the gay part of it that, was very confusing growing up, especially in that world, and like hearing, like you said, the things that people say. Or I even like had this vivid memory of this Easter play that did for a couple of years at the church I grew up in, where there was like a side of the stage that was like hell and like the demons, and they had these like symbols hanging from the ceiling over there that represented like different like sins and stuff that like people who were going to go to hell were like part of. And there was like a purple triangle out there, which is like a symbol for gay. And I remember as a kid, it was like little things like that, even as like a 10 or 11-year old who doesn't even really know that about himself yet. Those are like the things I was like, oh yeah, you're right, like the people who have like raised me and loved me feel this way about those kinds of people. Like
Right.
and you also hear all the things about like, Satan tempting you and like all these things, and like that you have to like, get over, for your salvation and that kind of stuff. And it was just kind of like, well, this is like who I am though. It doesn't make any sense. And
Right.
so that definitely played a part in me asking a lot of questions the older I got about like just different things about God and faith and everything. But I also feel like growing up so intertwined in church, you kind of get to see how the sausage is made a little bit. And I think that like shaped my view too of like, I don't know, when you're seeing it kind of like operate as like a business a little bit,
Hmm.
you kind of are like, well, I don't understand what is genuine and what's not. Or like whenever there's tough questions asked, I feel like they're not prepared to answer those, or they're afraid to answer those because at the end of the day they've got to have like people showing up to tithe and offerings,
Right.
that kind of stuff. And it's just like even those little things like made me become a little cynical
Oh,
pretty
I'm
early
super
on.
jaded.
Yeah.
I think a lot of stuff churches will do are predatory. Like the best example I can think of off the top of my head, every year in youth group, every other year we would go to nationals, and then every year we would go to districts. So districts, all 4 years in a row, would be at the convention center in Duluth. over in Canal Park, and all of the evangelical churches from Minnesota would all flood into this convention center. We'd rent out all the hotels around it. There'd just be youth everywhere. And they would fly in like big evangelical artists. So like Chris Tomlin was the worship leader throughout this weekend.
How great is our God?
Yeah. Oh man, I can hear that right now. And then they would have very well-known evangelical speakers fly in, and it was like a big church weekend. And then you do like fun stuff. They'd send out videographers in the day to like record all the youth groups like doing stuff like paintball, you name it, whatever. And then they would turn it into we would have group, I think, like morning, lunch, and night. So it'd always be like, here's what you guys have been doing today. We're all friends. And anytime there was like a super dark or like intense sermon, that's where I feel like it got a little predatory. So the one I'm thinking of right now is at Nationals, and this one was all the evangelical churches throughout the entire country. We all went to Purdue University, and we lived in the dorms for a whole week. Chris Tomlin, more other people, they all came in. And then there was one speaker one night where he started, like the lights went down, he walks on stage, and normally had there'd been like some fanfare to these people coming out, and it was like get you excited. They probably even had like a pump up speaker to get you there. This guy just comes out cold and goes, one of your friends just went to hell. Another one just went to hell. That friend you never saved, burning alive. And I think I was in 10th grade. And I was like, what am I listening to right now? And this man had this entire auditorium at Purdue University just in tears because everyone was convinced I have failed my friends and all of them are going to hell. And so the whole message was act now or your loved ones are going to burn alive. That's the kind of stuff where I'm just like, what are we doing here? And then conveniently they tossed around like commitment papers of, I'm going to recommit my life to making sure that people don't burn in hell. Oh, and also you want some money? Okay, cool. I'll give you some money right now. It just,
Yeah. You're right. It's very like manipulative, and I don't know, like in a way, especially like the music side of it. Like I am someone who gets very like emotionally moved by like beautiful music and
yeah.
stuff. And that would be the thing that would really like get me, like a good like how great is our God or something, like just like get you. But even that, I'm like, oh, I feel like there's a way for that stuff to be genuine, but I feel like a lot of the times it's used as a tool to like make money, to I don't know, to create this like world where like people are in control of other people, and like the
Yeah.
idea of like manipulating people's emotions for some sort of outcome is like that's what you do for entertainment. That's not meant to be for something so serious like someone's faith, or where they're putting literally all of their money, all of their energy, all their time, like volunteering. My family was so busy every week doing stuff all the time for our church, and it's just like we were exhausted, but we were doing it out of good faith because we thought we were like helping. But then again, like the older I got, I was like, no, we're just being taken advantage of. I feel like
Yeah.
and again, I think there were some genuine moments, I think, in all of that, but I think a lot of it was not that way, and it just like it started grossing me out the older I got, but I didn't know how to get out of it. I didn't know how to like talk about that. I didn't know how to like ask others around me, like, do you see this?
Yeah.
And then the moment I started doing that with some like of my closer friends, it was kind of like we all at the same time, like the veil was lifted a little bit.
Yes.
Specifically at the one church I was going to, we were part of the Church of God denomination, and then we left to kind of like start our own like thing. And in the process of that, it was really like, oh, there's a lot of like, there's a production side of all of this. And
Yeah.
it's just like, it was insane to see it that way. But at that point, I was like so invested that I didn't know how to get out. And then I had this one specific moment where I was like helping lead. At this point, I was just after college, and I was helping like lead like youth group. And I remember this one kid came and he like confessed that he had like slept with his girlfriend, and he was really like going through it because he like felt so guilty, because he had premarital sex, and
Oh,
like it was just like the worst thing he'd ever done. And he was in the like worship band, so he was like a leader in the youth group. People looked up to him, and the way they handled it, like they basically kicked him out and said he needed to have some time away to like think of his like actions, kind of a thing. And I was like, that's the weirdest way to deal with someone who's like literally, in hindsight, when he grows older, like this is going to be a small little like moment in his life. maybe, but like
In that moment, it's
in the
not
moment,
though.
it's the biggest quote unquote mistake he's ever made. The worst thing he's ever done. He's coming to like people. This is literally what the church is supposed to be. Like
Yeah.
people coming to you when they're at their lowest, looking for guidance, looking for unconditional love, the way quote unquote God is supposed to, unconditionally loves us, which is a whole nother thing because there's a lot of conditions to like God's
Mhm.
love. But that was like a weird moment where I was like, whoa, I don't want to be
It's like that.
I don't want that kid to like grow up putting me in the box of people that like pushed him away whenever he was in need.
Right.
And that was like that night at church. I remember thinking like, this is, I think I can't be part of this anymore.
I had a very wild experience with that exact topic. Um, so I think I was a junior in high school, and I had like just messed around with like my first sexual experience with a girl. That probably happened, I don't know, like a month prior. And there was a girl at my high school that I kind of had a crush on, and I was like, oh, like maybe I want to date this girl. So we went on like 2 dates, and then my school had always taught all of us like, A, don't ever mess around before marriage. Like that is the worst. But B, if you do, you better tell the person you're dating that you're unclean and what you've done, because they deserve to know before they get into it with you. So I had listened to that advice. I had told this girl like, hey, by the way, like this happened. Um, we good? And it absolutely like blew out her foundation of who I was. And she was just appalled. We were at the McDonald's up the road from our high school. So she left the McDonald's like, hey, where are you going? Like, are we good? And she didn't really want to talk to me. So I got home and I was already kind of freaking out. And at our high school, I don't know if you had to sign it in middle school, but for sure in high school, you had to sign a lifestyle contract every year to be allowed to start your first day of school. And this
Oh,
contract was pretty wild. It was, I won't smoke, I won't drink, I won't have premarital sex, I won't wear clothing that would make the opposite sex lust after me. I won't basically misrepresent God in any fashion, and that like any fashion very much left the door open to interpretation. So we had to sign this thing every year, and it was always told to us, if you break this contract, we can expel you at any point, and then your public school's problem. So knowing that was in the back of my head, I was like, oh God. And my mom's like a teacher. This is going to hit the rumor mill so hard. I'm a dead man walking. And I panicked. I was like, please do not tell anyone. And she made it very clear to me the next day at school that I was not favorable in that moment. And she wanted nothing to do with me because I had deceived her. So like by third period, all of the girls in my high school are glaring at me. I'm like, that's not good. She told everyone, and my mom's classroom is only like 4 doors down.
oh,
I'm so screwed. So I got really angry, and me and my best friend at the time, he was like, "What do you want, bro? Like, we can fix this." So being an idiot, I was like, "The only way to fix this is to prank everyone as hard as I can. Like that'll show them."
what a good idea.
So we found out that they were all having a sleepover that night, just to have like a probably talk about how awful I was. And once we found out the girl's house they were going to, and we knew where that girl lived, I was like, oh, cool. Like we're gonna mess with you guys. So we went to Walmart. And the plan was, I'm not saying this was great. Let's just start there. All right. The plan was we were gonna buy a goldfish for every person's car, and we were gonna stick the goldfish into their heating vents because
Oh my God.
it was November and it was cold. Then we were going to TP the ever loving hell out of this house, even though their parents had done nothing wrong to me. And then I think we were going to end it by just dropping fresh cracked eggs all over their cars. Which that part made no sense because it was November. Like they were just gonna fall right off.
Yeah.
Whatever. So we go. It was kind of way out in the woods of the cities where this person lived. Found their house, saw all the cars, instantly found the girl who was kind of very mad at me at the time. And we just start opening people's doors, and none of them are locked. So it's like, jackpot. I do think I got a couple goldfish into people's vents. But as we were messing with them, and I think my best friend at the time was cracking an egg over the hood of a car, and was standing on top of said car, all the girls come out of the house. And we found out later they came out of the house because they were about to go TP my house. So they catch us red-handed. And I think the girl who's mad at me, just like a Little Rascals movie, was like, "Get him!" And so everyone climbs into their small Ford Taurus, 4-door, back seat, and there's like 8 of them. So these girls, they ended up rolling down the windows, and they were diving through the back door window just to pile on top of each other so that all of them could get inside this Taurus. We ran down the street to where I parked. They start chasing us. We're now having a high school car chase through these backwood areas. She ended up fishtailing her car while she was trying to catch up to me around a corner and drove through some neighbor's wooden fence. And then by some weird freak accident, her car started on fire.
Oh my God.
And when they went around a corner, one of the girls who had dove through the back window, her leg was still sticking out of the back window, and gravity and physics did their thing, and she got sucked right out that window and went flying into the woods. So then they call me, and I can't see any of this. And they start calling relentlessly. Like every girl in that car is now calling my cell phone. And me and my friend Josh are blaring music. We're like, suck it, nerds. And then eventually one of the girls texted Josh and she goes, "This is not a joke. Call me back right now." So he's like, "Hold on, pull over." And we call him and all I hear is crying. And they're like, "She's not in the car. Oh, there's fire." And I was like, "They're messing with us. We're not going back there." And then one of the girls very clearly communicated, like, "This is not a joke. Turn around right now, or we're all going to be in a lot of trouble." So I turn my car around, come out, and then I see a blown over wooden fence with a car in someone's backyard that's on fire. And there's a girl in the road, and everyone around this girl is praying over her body. And I was like, what just happened? She eventually sits up. I was like, oh, thank God. I thought we were going to have like, I know what you did last summer moment. And I start shuttling all of them to the parents' house that we were going to destroy. And then the mom, who's a nurse at the time, woke up. We got all the way in the basement, crammed everybody in there. And then that mom very politely let us all have it, which I look back on that moment. I was like, if I was a parent, I would have had foam coming out of my mouth. I would have been screaming so hard. But she handled it really well and just said, "I'm not going to call any of your parents. You all need to go home. You should be very thankful no one's dead right now. You're all stupid. Go to bed." So I ended up telling my mom the next morning what happened. And that was weird to have to tell my mom, like, "Oh, by the way, I'm sexually active. And this is all of the horrible things that happened from me just admitting it once."
Maybe I should reconsider everything. Maybe having sex as a teenager is bad.
So then I had to tell my mom about this person, and I didn't want to stop hanging out with this person because to this day, like, we'll still send each other a random text every couple of years, like, "Hey, what's up?" So we gave her a fake name. When I told my mom, like, me and all my friends came up with this genius plan. They're like, "Tell your mom her name's Brooke." So Brooke Olson was the fake name we gave this person. And then when she came to our house a couple times after that, just to hang out, because like that absolutely killed any chance of ever fooling around with that person again, she would just come over and we all had to call her Brooke Olson.
Amazing.
But yeah, all of that because I was so scared that I was going to get expelled when Katie... Oops, I said her name.
I'll bleep it.
Who cares? Who cares? When she told everybody my dirty secret, quote unquote, I was so scared I was going to get expelled because I had just watched 2 other kids get expelled for that exact same reason a couple months prior. And they were messing around with each other, not hurting anyone.
Yeah.
And then I think he had told some of his buddies, like, "Hey, man, like, sex is pretty cool." And then that spread like wildfire, like those 2 dirty, unclean heathens, and they got expelled. So I was just shitting bricks when all this
When you're a
came
staff
out.
kid, there's
Oh,
a
yeah.
lot more expectation put on you.
Oh yeah, my mom loved telling me that every couple months, like, "You don't understand." I'm like, "No, I get it. I hear it all the time."
Yeah, you get it too. Where do you feel like, so today, where do you feel like what's your relationship to religion or faith today?
Not great. I guess I kind of just have put it in the back of my head as far as I can. And it's almost like the box that I was locking, that I was attracted to men, I now use to lock up just Christianity as a whole. Every time I go back to it, I feel like I get burned, and it's never a good interaction. Um, and when I do get reminded of it, like case in point, I got lucky enough to get tickets to Lady Gaga a couple weeks ago, and Mitch and I went to the cities to see it. It was an incredible show. Holy smokes, that was awesome.
I'm jealous.
But as we're walking into the Excel Center, there's those awful Baptist people handing out tickets that all say like we're gonna burn in hell, and there was a guy with a megaphone just screaming at all of us as we're walking in the Excel Center. Um, horrible things that like people don't even really say. This guy's screaming them into a megaphone, and I just get this guttural reaction where I really wanted to go kick the ladder out from under him and watch him get the wind knocked out of him, and then take his megaphone and punt it down the street. Like, oh,
Yeah, that makes me upset too because I feel well. A, I'm just like that's not you're not going to convince anyone tonight acting that way
right.
or ever. And then B, I kind of sometimes find myself I don't have any kind of like relationship to that desire to like I don't know proselytize to people or anything. But I think because it was such an important part of my life growing up, it all still feels very familiar to me. And like that's the other side of it. It's like there are people who are out here genuinely trying to like share the good word or whatever, and you're giving those kind of people a bad name, or Christians in general a bad name, so you don't realize that you're doing that. But then I also like find myself, I'm like, why do I care that much about that when it's like not even who I am anymore?
But you
But
care because you see what it's doing to other people.
yeah. And I think I remember like the good parts too of like what it was growing up. There were moments that like it didn't all feel terrible all the time. But I don't know, it's weird how like familiar it can like suddenly feel. I actually had a thing a couple weekends ago at a work. I was on a work trip to Boston. I don't think I told you this. And we at this event, we had several different car dealerships or car manufacturers there with their like reps there. And this one, I won't say the name of it because I don't want the guy to get in trouble, I guess. But this one guy who worked for a very notable electric vehicle brand um, was there, and he was really friendly, and we were chit chatting like basically the whole day. Super cool guy. And then we're at this like huge festival. There's like 20,000 people, and this guy comes up out of nowhere and asks us a question about like motorcycles or something that he saw that we were like related in some regard to the auto industry, and so he was trying to get our insight on something, and we didn't know the answer. And he's like, well, I also just wanted to introduce myself. He's from Venezuela, and he's like, my name is Archangel.
Wait,
And
what?
yeah, and so we like shook his hand,
Like
like
the
introduced
X-Men
ourselves.
character?
It was like crazy. And then he like walked away, and then we both were like, well, that was weird. I've never met anyone named that. And then he immediately was like, well, he was like, do you know the Bible verse about entertaining angels? And I was like, well, yeah. He was like, I think that was an angel. I think we just met an angel. And I thought he was like kind of joking at first, even though even the joke didn't really make sense. And I realized he was being serious, and that opened the door for him to share his whole like salvation. There's some 25-year-old kid who like got sober 4 years ago because God protected him from getting a DUI,
Oh
and
my
he's now
God.
on fire for God. And he was using phrases like "on fire for God" and things like that, things that I hadn't really heard in a very long time.
But
it
they're all catchphrases.
it all felt
know?
so familiar, and there's a weird like comfort to it because I was like, I know exactly how to talk to this person. And then at the end of our conversation, he was like going to leave because the day was over. He put his hand on my shoulder and asked me if there's anything that he could pray for me
See,
about.
absolutely not. Right there. I was waiting for it.
And we're at like a professional work event, and I just told him, I was like, well, thank you, but like I don't, I can't think of anything, and I also don't really feel like this. Or I said I can't think of anything. Thank you though. He's like, well, do you mind if I just pray for you?
Did he know you were gay?
I don't know. I didn't say it. I'm pretty straight passing, so I don't know. But I just told him then, I was like, no, thanks. I was like, I don't really think this is the right like place for that. I mean, we're literally at a work event. And then he pushed on that more and was like, well, he's like, I think any place can be a good place to pray. And I just like kept having to say, no, thank you.
Yeah.
And then he went to go leave, and he's like, well, I'm going to pray for you in my car. And I was like, dude, like, okay, you go do it. But like now at this point, you're like getting aggressive about it, and in a very polite way, which is also very confusing because you're a nice guy. But it was a weird, I have not had that experience of like someone being that
It just
forward
feels
with it.
very self-serving. That like with the whole like, can I pray for you thing, especially if they know you're gay, I'm like, just go away. Because
Yeah.
I know all you're going to think of the moment I turn around is, oh, Jake's going to burn in hell because he's gay. Let me pray for that.
Yeah.
I don't need your help. Go away.
Yeah. And if you do mean it in a genuine way, let that be a thing that you like, go to your car and pray for me. You don't need to like
Announce it.
Yeah, you don't need to pressure me into like being part of this if I don't want
Yeah.
to. And I think that's where like, I mean, I remember growing up and there was like an older man at our church who would come and find the different like guys in the youth group specifically and ask us like, how many people did you bring to the Lord this week at school?
Poof.
And it was just like, well, I'm trying to like go get a donut from the coffee stand right now.
He probably teamed up with the guy who's like, another one died.
Yeah, and it's just like, I don't know. Again, like I hope for some of those people they're so manipulated that they don't realize that their view of the world and the view of how that works like is the way it is. And I'm hoping that it's all coming from a good place. But that also is the thing that like is a problem with me about it is like you've found people when they're at their most vulnerable, manipulated them into like viewing the world this way. And now there is this like whole army of the Lord out there. Like this is how they're treating other people. And it's just
And as we were walking into the Gaga concert, like I remember looking at a group of girls that were in front of Mitch and I who were probably high schoolers. And there's this guy on a megaphone screaming into their face that fags burn in hell. And it's just these girls' faces were like a little scared. They're like, come on, dude. Like people are trying to get in here and see a concert. They don't need this crap. And you're now just yelling at high school girls that they're going to go burn in hell. Like, do you feel good about yourself right now?
There's no way they can feel good. Also, the success rate of that is so slim.
Yeah.
But again, I mean, not to defend them, but I'm sure some of those people like whenever I see kids out there doing that kind of stuff with their parents,
I feel
and
so
everything,
bad for those kids.
I do too. And it's like, but they don't know any better. And shame on those parents for like that. I don't know. That's Jesus would never have done that. Jesus would never be out there doing that. You know, and it blows my mind.
No.
Well, we're at time.
I'm sorry it got so deep and heavy.
No, I appreciated that. As we close out, I did want to ask you, is there anything I can pray for you for?
Listen here, I'm going to unplug your microphone.
Well, thank you for doing this. I feel like we didn't even I feel like we just scratched the surface of like
yeah, I would
things.
agree.
We haven't talked about surprise trip to Bozeman. We haven't talked about giggling and watching movies and like I don't know.
There's a lot. We've been hanging out for a long time.
Yeah, I still remember coming over to your house for video game night, and I picked up that pizza, and they thought your name was Rake.
Yeah, I was really excited to play The Last of Us with you.
Yeah,
because you're such a big movie guy. It's like,
Yeah.
dude, video games can be like movies too. And then Rake, and she said it with such confidence too.
Cool. Well, thanks, Rake. Thanks for
Rake was happy to be here.
thanks for doing this. All right.
Thanks,
That's
Scotty.
it.
Sweet.
Should we get lunch after this?
You got time?
Let's see.